Hey viewers, if you want your stories, experiences of infidelity, breakup, cheating, to be narrated and get featured to others in our Mr. Cool's Planet community, feel free to submit your stories to the mail given in description. Either way, please don't forget to subscribe if you like the channel. Let's go.
Welcome, dear adventurers, let us embark on this journey together and discover the hidden gems that await us. Another guy called my girlfriend while we were in bed together. Before I get to the issue at hand, I'll give some quick backstory. I've known this girl for 4 years through social media. We started dating 7 months ago, but she put off meeting me until last weekend. She routinely came up with excuses, or that she was too busy and something came up. She has a 7-year-old son, so I tried to be understanding of that, and we kept it long distance until she was free, though we were abundantly clear that it was a committed relationship. We texted all day, called every night. During this time of dating, before meeting, I discovered that she has been hospitalized in the past for self-harm and placed in the psych ward. Her sister also committed suicide. So I was aware that she has some mental health struggles. She has a diagnosis for borderline personality disorder. Her previous relationship ended badly because she began screaming at the guy so much so that he began to also self-harm and had to be hospitalized as well. Now, fast forward to this previous weekend when I finally met her. We spend the weekend together, everything goes pretty well, we're clicking decently, and I ask her how she feels towards being in person and if I look like my pictures, because I know meeting in person can be jarring. She comes across as very thrilled, happy, she's constantly touching me, cuddling me, laying her head on me, laughing and smiling, holding my hand during a trip to the store. Everything is great for the most part aside from some general anxiety and weird awkward moments. We have sex multiple times and she was enthusiastic about it, even though that she didn't directly initiate it because of trauma from a previous relationship that she made clear to me, she always wants me to initiate it. The final night we spend together, she receives a phone call while in bed laying next to me. It's a friend of hers, a guy, who demands to know where she's at, who she's with. She says, "Now isn't a good time. I'm with someone. I'll talk to you later." The guy doesn't stop and begins getting progressively more upset, asking my name, how long she's known me, and wanting her best friend's number so that he can text her. The call goes on for 10 minutes, and eventually after her saying that she's on a date, they end the call with him saying that he wants to talk later in private. I ask her many details about why she feels the need to answer to him, and why was he so flirtatious. She brushes it off as him being friendly and that they've known each other for a while. We have a pretty heated argument, that lasts 2 hours. I stay calm, but she tries to brush it aside by saying that she knows how it looks, but it's not the case. We go to bed, and I walk her to my front door the next morning. She tries to hug me, and I tell her that I'll talk to her later. She turns back and tells me that she loves me as she's walking down the steps. She later texts me that day, going off on me, saying that I don't look like my pictures, that I edit them so heavily that she didn't even recognize me in person, and that I'm not going to find anyone if I'm not genuine with them. So I explained to her that I've sent her videos on Snapchat, of my face, for months. Not to mention all of my pictures on Facebook and Instagram. She clearly knew what I looked like, Snapchat filters or not. I've told her that I gained some weight during the pandemic and wasn't as muscular as I used to be, even a slight receding hairline, but she knew that before coming and told me that she doesn't care. Regardless, she says to me, "I know I caused a fair amount of damage with that phone call, but you need to understand what you did also wasn't okay. You didn't even hold me while I was crying, and you were mad at me, rather than the situation. You've broken my trust and I can't look past it. So now, we've broken up and removed each other. I've tried to call her, and ask her to talk about it at least over the phone, but she refuses. I asked her if she felt this way, then why not say so in person because we could have had a better goodbye. She said, "I can't think clearly when I'm in front of you. I didn't even realize that I felt this way until I left. I love you so much, but sometimes that's not enough." She then admits to me that after thinking about it, that I'm right, and that her friend probably does have feelings for her. She said all of her guy friends end up falling for her. I can't help but feel like she's deflecting the blame of that phone call onto me for something wild and out of nowhere. If she was displeased, then why stay the entire weekend, have sex with me, and pretend to be happy? Literally telling me how happy you are, and how great everything is. She told me that she seethed with anger on the way home with how I got upset over the phone call. She said I had a right to be slightly mad about it, but not act like it was the end of the world. Caught my wife, of 13 years, cheating with a coworker. Just here to get straight to the point. My wife and I have been married since we were 25. We are 38 now. We met in college, got married, and everything has been great. We both graduated, got good jobs, and started our lives together. Me and my wife both made good money, so money was never an issue for us. My wife worked for her dad's small business while I worked for a very large company. After a few years, my boss left the company out of nowhere and they needed someone to take over. The only person who knew how to run the department was me. So, I got a major pay jump, better bonus, better benefits. The works. So, at 28 I was making probably 3x more than my wife. At 28, the same year, my wife gave birth to our first daughter. Then, 2 years later, our second. My wife, due to working for her father, was able to be more diverse in working. Well, around 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That left my mother-in-law and wife in a hard position. Sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no clue how to run it, so my wife said she would do it. After my wife took the company, it did just as well as when her father ran it. With that being said, my wife got a huge pay increase, more than me. I was proud of her. Going from a basic worker to running a whole company isn't easy. Anyway, our daughters started suffering from not seeing their parents. Me and my wife discussed one of us staying home. She said, "The company you work for will be fine without you. Mine could go under." I agreed, so I quit my job and became a stay-at-home husband. I do everything. I make sure the girls are all taken care of. I cook, clean, fix things, make sure errands are run, you name it. I pamper my wife when she gets home from working. This went well for a while until about a year ago. My wife was always very appreciative of what I did and loved it. She has become very mean lately. Like just saying things like, "Do you do anything?" or, "How about you work for real?" What? I work my ass every day making sure you don't have to lift a finger when you get home at all. Also, I had a real job, but I quit to raise and take care of the girls, our home, and you. Not to mention my wife is very sexual. Always has been. She quit initiating sex and when I ask she is never in the mood. That was very odd. Eventually, I quit trying. I just thought, with all the pandemic crap and everything else, she was just very stressed and it was getting to her. I started trying harder to make her happy. Nothing ever worked. Last weekend, my oldest had a softball game. So, I get everything ready and we go. During the game, I wanted to take a video for my mom and dad since they live in another state and don't get to see my daughters that often. I forgot my phone so I asked my wife if I could see hers. She had been attached to it all day so it would be good for her to get off it. Anyway, she hands it to me and says she is going to get a drink and a snack. She gets up. I video my daughter when a message comes up on some app. I check and I can't even fathom what I see. My wife and this guy from her work, who is 8 years younger, were sexting and sending videos and pics. Talking about how great the sex was and then me. He is saying how I am some wimp who can't get a real job taking care of his women and my wife agrees with him. I couldn't believe this shit I saw. I was so devastated and angry all at the same time. I heard my wife coming back, so I closed the app and started videoing. On the ride home and when we get home, my wife tries to talk to me and I am not in the mood. Eventually, we lay in bed and, for the first time, I guess they hadn't met in a while, tried to have sex. I tell her I am not in a mood. She says, "If you are going to be a bitch about everything, you can sleep on the couch." I got up and went to the couch and now have been here since. I don't know how to move forward with this. I really just don't know where to start. My wife was my everything, my girls are my world, and all of that is dying. Update. First off, I do have the text, pics, videos and everything. Second, I don't any of the company. It is 50-50 between her and my mother-in-law. Third, I can't sleep in the bed. I have been sleeping the guest bedroom every night and that is where I will be staying. To answer, I have decided to divorce her. Anyway, this morning I called a firm in another town to avoid anyone finding out. Thankfully they were able to get me in this morning as someone had cancelled. After dropping off my girls I drove over there. To make a long story short, he is a very good lawyer. I showed him what I had. He said that luckily for me with the evidence I have she will be pretty much screwed in the divorce. Seeing as I quit my job to raise our girls, she is never home, she is having an affair, prioritizes this man over me and my girls, she will lose very easily. He basically said we will get child support, alimony, I will keep the house and we will have to pay for it as long as my girls live there. Also, he stated that we could even try for more money since I am considered no longer viable in the working world, to help me pay for more education to get a job. Some of you were right. He said to not work until after the divorce is over. He said since you are the husband if you have a job you can lose a lot of this. He asked if I wanted full custody. I said that I don't mind my wife seeing her girls on the weekends every once in a while, but I would want mostly full custody. He said since she had an affair in the marital home I can basically do what I want. Since he stated bringing over a strange man over to the house put the girls in danger and makes her guilty. So, I will be going for full custody where she can get weekends once maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around my girls and if there are she could face problems by me if I find out. I just don't want that pos around my girls. He eventually said to keep quiet until the draft are ready and then he will issue someone to serve her and have it issued that she is required to leave the home. He said he should have it done sometime next week. He asked me to just keep quiet. He said I know it is hard and you are upset but just shut the hell up until everything is done. Once the divorce is over you can say whatever the hell you want about her, but until then keep your mouth shut. He said act as normal. He said, no fights, no issues, sleep in separate bed, and no sex. I said no problem but why? He said trust me just don't do it and do as I say. I just got home and have started getting ready for dinner and acting and being normal. I will be acting as if everything is okay until she is served next week. Caught wife sexting ex. Over a decade ago, my wife friended one of her exes on Facebook. I thought this was inappropriate and told her I was uncomfortable with that, and she told me I was being immature. She basically threw it in my face that I have no exes and therefore would have no idea how such friendships work after a breakup. At the time, Facebook was also relatively new, so I don't think anyone really knew the rules of the road for friending exes and such. I decided to drop the matter. Years later she tells me he is now a sex therapist and has been giving her some tips for us in the bedroom. I told her that seemed massively inappropriate, and she told me it was no big deal. He lived in a different state and was married, and obviously they would never be seeing each other in person ever again. I again did not want to be some control freak ordering my wife around, so I dropped it. Last month, Facebook suggested that I become friends with this guy. That pissed me off, so I decided to see when was the last time my wife had been in contact with him. I opened her phone and found out she had messaged him 6 months ago. There were no messages prior to this, so it was obvious she had been deleting all previous conversations. He was living much closer to us now, and she had asked if he would like to meet for coffee sometime. He said he had recently divorced but was currently seeing someone so politely declined. She then told him that she had one wish before she died and that was to find him and fuck him and left it at that. I've done a bit of research since the discovery and have found it's shockingly common for an ex to set up a back burner relationship like this. When I confronted her about this, she at first tried to downplay it saying that she had said if I died she'd like to find him. I showed her the message and explained that there's quite a difference between waiting for me to die to do something and saying you want to do something before you die. She then agreed with me that she had been extremely inappropriate and that she would not contact him again. Now you may be wondering at this point, hey, this seems way out of ethical boundaries for a therapist. I thought the same thing, but after looking into this guy more deeply, I discovered that he wasn't actually a therapist but instead worked for some company which now has a Netflix documentary accusing them of being a sex cult among other things. My wife had attended just one seminar with them and had no idea. I wasn't as angry as one might expect in this situation because we've been married almost 3 decades, and it's been fizzling for a while now. I assumed if things continued the way they were going that we'd probably just amicably split after all the kids left. What was surprising and confusing to me was that my wife had lost nearly all desire for sex and then was seeking it out somewhere else. So I asked her, you can't even put in a minimal amount of effort in our bedroom, but you were willing to drive who knows how far to go have sex with someone else. Why? I wouldn't say she ducked this question, but her answers seemed designed to not hurt me. Obviously I was hurt though, as it can be a gut punch to realize your wife isn't not interested in sex anymore, she's just not interested in having sex with you. Since then, she's been doing what I see on here termed as love bombing. It's been nice, but I can't imagine it lasting for long. So now I'm just stuck thinking to myself, when that fizzles, is it time to call it quits? But I can't talk to her about that because I don't want to be putting out some mandate that if her sexual output falls below a certain level, I'm out. And so we come to the end of our adventure for today, my fellow explorers. We hope that the story we shared has left you with a sense of wonder, reflection, and connection. Remember, every story has the power to touch our hearts, to broaden our horizons, and to bring us closer to one another. We encourage you to keep exploring the vast universe of storytelling and to share your own stories with the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to embarking on new adventures together soon. Until then, keep dreaming and keep exploring.